everyone, and welcome to my talk about Kotlin 2.2 new tricks for smart developers. I'm Pamela Hill. I'm a Kotlin developer advocate at JetBrains. So I've been coding since the 1990s, and I've been coding in Kotlin since 2017. So it's been a while. So I have a question. I want to begin with a question. What do you think about when you think about Kotlin? Hands up. What do you think about Kotlin? The best programming language ever. You go, where are those cool swag prizes? It is JetBrains socks. I just want to check. Yes, nice. Keeping cozy for the winter, keeping cozy. Who else? Who else has a suggestion? All right, yes. Yes, that's right. You go, there is another pair of socks. However, you're going to have to give it to your mother or girlfriend because it's a ladies' pair. I'm sorry. You think about Android? Yeah. Okay. We have a notebook here that you can have. It's unfortunately no more socks, but a notebook. Very old school Android, coding notebook from JetBrains. Thank you. All right. So what do other people say? What they think about when they think about Kotlin? Well, sometimes people, they say you can write really short programs with it. It's concise. Or they say it's expressive. So you can solve all kinds of different problems, like for Android or other platforms, you can solve a lot of problems with it. It's original. There's so many new and unique features. And it is sound. You can sort of mathematically prove that your programs aren't going to go into an illegal state. But that's not what Kotlin's philosophy actually is. We actually have a different kind of philosophy. Firstly, it's readability over concision. It doesn't help if a program is really short, but you can't read it, right? You want to eliminate boilerplate, but you also want to be able to read it. Reuse over expressiveness. So it's cool to solve problems with code, but what about extracting the solutions and making libraries out of it? Reuse. And interoperability over originality. So you know that Kotlin is interoperable with Java. So we're standing on the shoulders of giants, really looking at other programming languages and seeing, wow, this language did coroutines. Coroutines is not a new thing that Kotlin introduced. It's actually an older concept. And safety and tooling over soundness. So we have our IDEs and our compilers and our build tools that help us write better, more correct programs, right? So Kotlin is designed to make developers happier. Who feels happy about Kotlin? That guy. I'm glad. He's also glad because he's got some warm socks. And it's because Kotlin makes people more productive with less code, and you can read stuff easily, you can understand things, and you can maintain the code that you've written. There's also fewer common errors, so you don't get those null pointer exceptions that you used to. Well, hopefully not, unless you're double banging that your possible null values. And it's a mature language. It's been around since 2011. There's so many IDEs and build tools for it, so many libraries. It's mature. And it's interoperable with Java. So you can use the whole ecosystem of Java tools and libraries with it. It's easy to learn. Who learned Java and a Flash? Kotlin and Flash, Java, Kotlin. Who felt that they could learn Kotlin quite fast? Yeah, okay. I also learned Kotlin quite fast. And the community, it's big. You know, we're all supporting each other, and it's quite a big community. So where is Kotlin used? So there are 2.5 million users regularly using Kotlin, and that's the stats from this year's KotlinConf. So we know that Kotlin shines on Android, but did you know that Kotlin is also for server-side, Kotlin multi-platform, so you can run Kotlin code on iOS, desktop, WASM, the web, all those kinds of things. And you can share that code as well. You can write scripts with Kotlin. You can use Kotlin notebooks for data science. And you can write AI agents with Koog. That's a newer platform. So today I really want to talk about the new features that are happening on Kotlin 2.2. And this is usually how I feel when I learn something new. I always feel like, in the beginning, you're like, you see this, like what you have to learn beforehand, and you're like, holy hell. And then, like, while you're busy learning these new things, you're like, I'm not going to make it. But then afterwards, you're like, hey, that wasn't so bad. But the next time, yeah. Okay. So today we're going to do some live coding. I just want to see whether can you read the screen quite nicely, and it looks like you can see everything all right. Is it all right? Okay. So there's about 4 new features that I want to talk about today, and they're not necessarily the only features that is available in 2.2, but I like them the most, so I decided to focus on these. So I want to start with, let's start with nested type aliases. Okay. So what is a type alias? Anybody have an idea of what a type alias is? Don't be shy. It's a name for another data type, right? You give another name to a data type. And it is used because either you have a very generic name like string, and you want to give it more domain specific name like ID or identifier or user identifier. And maybe you have a very long generic name, like, for example, this concoction over here is also, this whole thing is lambda type. But maybe you want to give it another name. So you could use type aliases for that. So you want to take something that is generic and give it a shorter, more succinct name. So that is a type alias. So say that we have an example where we are going to create a band name formatter app. So all 3 of these are like little formatters, and they take in 4 strings each, making it a quartet, a string quartet. Please get my joke. Thank you. I didn't mess that one up. All right, so we have these 3 formatters, simple names, which is going to just say like it's name, the first name, the second name, the third name, and the fourth name. Friends names, which is just the first name and friends, and then the third one is just the quarryman. Does anybody have an idea of what band I'm referring to? So it's an old, so this is the original name. I'm looking at the slightly older people in the room. Okay, you'll get it now. So what we're going to do now is we're going to hope that the Wi-Fi is working well, and we're going to use AI assistant from JetBrains to refactor the 3 variables. Ooh. To use type alias. Okay. So it's just a little bit of AI refactoring. And there's created a type alias called band name formatter that takes 4 strings and outputs a string. And what we can then do, you can see over here, simple names, friends names, and original name has now been transformed to use this formatter type, this type alias. That is, if you want to write this every time, it's quite long. But now you can just say band name formatter. It's more specific and it is shorter, which is always nice. So here we have a function called show band, and it takes in a formatter, the type that formatter that we just created, and it will print out a band that has 4 members: Paul, John, Ringo, and George. Any ideas? The band. The Beatles. Yay. Does anyone from here, this section over here, know who the Beatles are? Oh no. So what we can do with this main function, so we can just run it just so you can see what happens. We're going to format this, use the simple names formatter, and we're going to format so that you can see over here, it's Paul, John, Ringo, and George. Okay, so that is like simple type aliases. You can, if we also wanted to change it to friends' names, we could go ahead and do that too. It will just say Paul and friends. So that is what a type alias is. But I want to show you a little bit more about nested type aliases. Let me just close things so that you can see properly. So a nested type alias is when you have a type that is a type alias that is inside another data type. So over here, I have 2 type aliases inside my class instrument stock service. And I'm just nesting it inside that data type. Usually you want to, it's really when you want to sort of enclose this type alias inside, you want to sort of scope it. So that's why you would go ahead and nest your type aliases. So let's look at this example. We've got an instrument stock service. So we have a music shop and we have to maintain our stock. And inside this stock service, we're going to have 2 shortcuts. We're going to have 2 type aliases called instrument type, which is just the type of the instrument. It could be a trumpet or a drum or a guitar or a saxophone. And it has a set of UIDs. And that is sort of like just like could be for books, it could be a serial number, but for instruments, we just decided on just some random numbers. And this stock service actually just goes ahead and maintains this stock. And you can see that I'm using instrument type and instrument IDs here inside the stock service. So it's scoped and I can use it from within my stock service. But you might wonder, can I make instrument stock service more generic? Can I go ahead and make the type of the items generic and the type of the IDs also generic? And the answer is actually no. And the reason why is that we don't want to capture these type parameters of the stocks, this enclosing class or data type. We don't want to capture that one. We want to keep things simple. So you can't do this, but you can have used this workaround to sort of keep this type alias generic in its own right. So there is a little workaround. It's just not, you're just not capturing the type parameter of the enclosing type. So that's sort of like a restriction for nested type aliases. So nested type aliases are now in beta in Kotlin 2.2. And I don't know if you know this, but if you have, if you want to, for example, use some funky new stuff that's happening in Kotlin, you can go to your Gradle file, and in the Kotlin block, you can just enable the experimental types, the experimental things, like this flag over here says it's experimental. And then nested type aliases means that it is, we're enabling this feature of Kotlin. So not all features need to be enabled like this. If it's unstable, you don't have to do it like that. Okay. Any questions about nested type aliases? Are you guys still all right? You go. Mm-hmm. I think, okay, cool. Let's answer it at the end. All right. Next, I want to talk to you about multi-dollar string interpolation. So string interpolation is a really cool, it's a basic feature of Kotlin. And it is, say that you have a string, like your delicious coffee was made by, and you have a variable like barista name. So maybe I'm making coffee today, lucky you. And I could then say, I could print out your delicious coffee was made by, and then we say, we use the string interpolation symbol called dollar, and then the variable name, right? It's going to print out your delicious coffee was made by Pamela. Next, what you can do is we can also uncomment that, and then we can say we have this coffee shop and we're going to print out a bill. And maybe this coffee shop isn't just a coffee shop. It's also going to sell some nice tea, some Milos, or something cozy as well. So here you can sort of have a little variable that says is coffee. And if you can see over here, I've added an expression if is coffee, then the string that we output is coffee, otherwise it's just drink. And so we can actually go ahead and print out, let me run it for you so you can see. Your delicious drink was made by Pamela. So this is string interpolation, which means that you can add a variable or you can add an expression inside a string in a very sort of neat way. Now with Java, you had to, like the older versions of Java, you had to use the append or string builders or all kinds of crazy things to get nice strings out of the language. But with Kotlin, you use string interpolation. Of course, Java has now, in the meantime, gotten some string interpolation as well, but Kotlin did it first. All right. So next, what I want to show you is, so next we've got, say that we want to create like a whole coffee shop bill experience. And so we want to print out the name of the coffee shop, which is Cash Cafe. It's this thing over here. So we want to print out your, it will print out Cash Cafe, your delicious drink was made by Pamela. But you can see that this is already like, there's something funny over here. It wants to import stuff, and this should just be an H. So what is happening here is we're seeing this, the compiler is expecting some string interpolation to happen because that's the string interpolation symbol. And it's looking for a variable called H. You can see it says unresolved reference H. So what we need to do with multi-dollar string interpolation is very simple. Ta-da! We just add another $1 to the start of the string. Now this is going to be the string interpolation symbol will be just $, and then this one will just be like, this is what string interpolation is going to be. So if I wanted to say dash $, Pamela, can't spell my own name. Okay, so I could, so if I have $1 in my string, then it will just be like a normal character in the string. But if I wanted to say $barista name, if I print it out like this, it's going to be like just barista name, the variable name. But if I print it out like this, it will be Pamela, right? So the $, is like a string interpolation symbol, so that you sort of set it on the beginning of the string to show, actually, this is the symbol that I'll add before variables and expressions. If you have $, just a single dollar or whatever, then it will just be a literal. So if we print this out here, you'll see Cash Cafe and then Pamela. Is it kind of clear? I didn't explain it super well, so is it kind of clear? You guys look a little bit depressed. Is my multi-dollar string interpolation explanation not good? Is it okay? All right. Okay. Next, I want to talk to you about friends. So this feature has to do with the way that we handle inline breaks and continues. I just wanted to mention this coffee multi-dollar multi-dollar string interpolation is now stable. So whenever you use Kotlin 2.2, you can just use it without a flag. You just have to update your you just need to update your Kotlin version and it's already there for you. So if I want to talk to you about friends, and this feature has to do with building this map. I'm aware that we've got a little cut-off issue here. So say that we have a list of friends that are coming into our function, and we want to output a map with the first name as the key and the number of times that this first name occurs in this list as the value. So for example, if I have this list, the first one is just an empty one, and you'll see now why. Monica Geller, Phoebe Buffet, Ross Geller, Chandler Bing, Rachel Green, and Rachel Geller. Does anybody know which series this is from? It's literally in the name. It's Friends, right? Yes, it's Friends. I tried to make it easy, but now I made it worse. Sorry. All right. So what we're doing here is we're looping over to create this list. We're looping over our friends' names. We're getting the first name. And then this little interesting piece of code is called the Elvis operator. And you can see like the little curl of his hair is like there, yeah. And so if this first name is null, like in this case over here, then we're actually going to just continue. So we're not going to do this whole line of code, this compute, where we actually add the first name and the count. We increment the count. We're not going to do that at all. We're simply going to continue, and the IDE will show you here. It's going to continue in this for over here. But that's fine. So this is how it normally works. And this is kind of as expected, even in Kotlin 2.1. But in Kotlin 2.2, say that you want to do something else. You want to maybe add a little scoped function at the end of this Elvis operator. Now, this is going to, if you have a first name that's null, it will run this little piece of code. So it's going to write out no first name for friend name. So it will just be empty there, and then it will continue. But what happened with Kotlin 2.1 is that the continue would actually happen on the run, not on the for. So we've actually fixed this. We've actually corrected this feature to make it more understandable, that it will actually work on continue. The continue will actually work on the for. And the reason why we decided to do it like this is because run is an inline lambda. You can see over here, it's marked as inline. Can anybody explain to me what an inline function is? So what Kotlin does is it just takes the code that you have here. At compile time, it will copy this. It will completely remove this run section. That will be completely gone, and it will just copy that whole println and continue directly in the space of where the lambda was supposed to be. And the reason for that is because we just want to have a little bit more efficiency. You get this often with some other like let, or the other scope functions like let, and there's run, and there's like 4 of them. But you also can use it for other kinds of inline functions as well. So this, in summary, this friends function is actually going to take Monica and map it to 0 at first, then Phoebe 0, and so on. And then it will, or at least one, and then it will actually go ahead, and when it gets to Rachel, you see there's a second Rachel, then it will increment Rachel to 2. So if we go ahead and run, I'm just going to print out the second one because that's the one that does the magic. So summarize friends one is the one that actually has the new sort of feature correction. So we have Monica, Phoebe, and Ross and Chandler with 1 and Rachel with 2. Okay. The last feature that I want to show you has to do with guards. So when conditions are an extremely powerful feature of Kotlin, it's quite a common condition or expression to use. And it's powerful because you can actually it's basically exhaustive. So if we have, for example, a season sealed hierarchy, and we know it's sealed because of this keyword over there. So of course we have winter, summer, spring, and autumn in Cape Town in one day. And there aren't any other seasons, right? And sometimes in spring, there's also a lot of pollen. So let's add some data called pollen count to it. So what we can do with a when expression is here, you can see when a season is winter, we can plant. In summer, it will water the garden, and in autumn, we'll rake the leaves, and in spring, we'll pick the flowers. Now, if I did this, you see over here, the when expression must be exhaustive. So this is going to catch you when you see, when you actually take out a condition or there's an additional condition that you haven't handled yet. So this is why when is so powerful, is it will always be exhaustive and it will help you pick up your errors. But now with Kotlin 2.2, we can actually introduce something called guards. Now, say we want to add something for allergy sufferers, we can say if season pollen count greater than 30, and then we're going to say sneeze. So this is going to read if the season is spring and if the pollen count is greater than 30, then sneeze. So in other words, if it's spring and there's a lot of pollen in the air, sneeze. You'll notice here that this when expression is still complaining about not being exhaustive because, of course, there's the condition that the pollen count is less or equal to 30. So what we need to do is, look how clever, we say like if it is spring, then just pick the flowers. So this will read, so this will actually be executed in favor of, if the pollen count is greater than 30, it will execute first. And then the second one will, it will choose sort of in order of preference, the first one and then the second one. So this if is called a guard. And it is in stable at the moment. You can go and use it already. And the reason why they used the condition if instead of double and is, well, let me show you. If I do this, it gets very unhappy. The compiler gets very unhappy. And so it's obviously like talking about like it wants you to use if, it wants you to use guards. If you want to, previously what you had to do, if you wanted to add extra conditions into your code, you would actually go ahead and take season out of your when, and then start saying things like season is spring and so on, so on. But then you're repeating season is all the time. So this is just like a nicer reading way of doing when expressions. So in summary, all that you need to do is if you have a second condition or a whole compound condition with your seasons or with your first condition, when there's a when with a variable, you simply use if. And then I just wanted to mention two other things before we go into the questions. How do you keep up to date with all the latest Kotlin goodies? Firstly, the Kotlin roadmap is here on Kotlin Lang, and it's continuously updated with like what the philosophy, what the direction of Kotlin is going to be for the next while. So I would definitely check out the roadmap if you are keen on hearing more about where Kotlin is going. Of course, keep it up to date with what's happening with the KotlinConf keynotes and stuff as well. And if you're keen on learning more about language features, then have a look at, let me just move this so you can see. This language features and proposals URL, this page, because there's a lot of discussions. And if you're interested in like languages, like programming languages, and how to actually go ahead and like contribute to Kotlin in sort of like the thought leadership of what Kotlin should do, then this keep discussion over here is for you, because in there they discuss like, these are the new features, we're thinking of doing this, what does the community think? And this is like all thought processes, and this is what the community says, and all those kinds of things. And it's super interesting to understand the deeper levels of the language. And then I just wanted to get back to my slides and Q&A time. I have a few nice things to share with you, so please do ask questions if you have. Have I shocked you into silence? Thank you. Questions? Yes. Thank you. No, you can use user-defined type aliases just as you like. Okay, thank you. Here you go. I don't know if people still use notebooks, but these are cool, like programming notebooks. They've got like mnemonics and absolute addresses. So it's like for when you write C or ASM or something like that. You're welcome. It's kind of retro. All right, next. Any more questions? Yes, at the back. Hi. Yes. Let's go back to the code. I will show you. So let me just copy this out. Right. So the problem is only with $. So for example, here we could add percentage, no problem, hash, no problem, so on. But the problem is only with $, because it's the string interpolation symbol. You can't use any other symbol for the string interpolation but $. Okay, but in this sentence, or this statement over here, the string interpolation symbol is actually $, because it's at the start of the string. And so if I want to use it for interpolation, it would be over here. I could use $, for the variable name, or if I wanted to do expressions, I would do it like this. Is it a little bit more clear? Okay. All right. More questions? Yeah.
So let's assume you are not currently using Kotlin. So let's assume you're not updated to Kotlin 2.2 and you wanted to use the dollars, you wanted to grab the $sign inside a string. How would you do that? So if you can't use a $sign, how would you print the $sign in the string?
I think I'm gonna try. It looks very ugly. I think it's something like is that even, is that going to compile? See, it's complaining. I think that might, yeah, I think that might be it. So you don't want to do that, right? Yes. So you could also enable the experimental feature in Kotlin in the previous versions before Kotlin 2.2. But before you had to, whenever you had a string literal, you would have to do this concoction, which is not ideal. Okay, thank you for the question. You can just pass it on, please. Thank you. Yeah.
Hi. Sorry, maybe this question is a bit unrelated to this, but then I wanted to ask, how can Kotlin be integrated in the field of industrial and system engineering?
Mm-hmm. So usually industrial and system engineering uses C, right? C, the programming language? Yes. So there is certain interop with C, but it gets kind of tricky. So I would not necessarily go ahead and use Kotlin for industrial engineering. It's in general for more general like server-side Android stuff. It's more like a user language rather than a industrial kind of language where you know, in other words, you're going to write apps or server-side apps or those kinds of software with Kotlin. It's not going to be something that you necessarily write machinery, compressor, like controller software. In other words, like I worked with an electronic engineering company like way long ago in the 2000s, and they were using C. They were programming all their stuff with C. And Kotlin does have a little bit of interoperability with C, but I wouldn't use it on a daily basis. So if you had to call between Kotlin and C, you could, but it's gonna be a little bit ugly, and it also would might maybe also be very platform dependent on whether it works or not. So I wouldn't go there. But thank you for the question. Thank you. Yeah.
Multi-platforms.
Yes.
Are you saying that? So I'm a mobile developer and currently using Flutter, right? So mobile simulation. Is that the same thing with Kotlin, or because I just recently read this? Is that the current same thing, and is it stable enough?
So Kotlin multi-platform is stable on all platforms except for WASM. It's for WASM WebAssembly. It's going into beta end of the year. So it's stable for Android, iOS, desktop, which is JVM, JS, and it will become stable for WASM at the end of the year somewhere. It's currently in alpha. And then Compose multi-platform, which is building the UIs, is mostly stable as well. So it is a really good time to start using it. It is completely stable in most of the platforms. It just depends on, like, do you still want to use WASM in the browser or something like that? All right. I've run out of stuff, but please you've got stuff. Yes. Yes.
When you say stable, when you say stable, can you define stable more? As in, can you create an iOS and Android just using Kotlin, or is it only for sharing certain functionality? As in, you can write a class, and that class can be used for iOS and Android, but there's still limitations where you need to do some form of Xcode or Swift to communicate better. So just a better understanding of where multi-platform is right now. Can you go 100% or maybe 60-40 or 50-50?
Okay, so firstly, what I wanted to say, stable has to do with both. It's both with the APIs. In other words, you won't have to migrate things at a later stage to a newer version of the API. There will either be a auto migration for you, or there's some guarantee of backwards compatibility. Then in terms of stability, where you can share code, so you can share 1% up to like 99%. The only place where between Android and iOS that you would have to sort of use Xcode and use Swift or Objective-C is when you bootstrap your application. So you have to sort of open up the application and load Kotlin multi-platform or compose multi-platform components into this bootstrap, and that's it. The rest you can share completely. Yeah. Okay, I think we need to move on.
Just the question from Alex online, remember?
Yes.
It says, are there Kotlin resources, particularly in the ADK agentic development ecosystem, as well as GCP resources? Those are two questions, actually.
Okay.
Perhaps I think the one relevant to this talk is, are there Kotlin resources, particularly in the ADK agentic AI development ecosystem?
I know, so I haven't gotten into Koog all that much, but I do know that somebody called John O'Reilly has created a really cool article about it. Koog, John O'Reilly. And he's written...
It's not sharing now. So
no. Oh, no. Okay. Look, my colleague Simon is waiting in the wings. Whee! Okay. So I just wanted to go back and show you. So there is a John O'Reilly post. I don't know. Like, let's just try this one. This one. I would have a look at this article where it talks about the new Kotlin-based framework, Koog. So I would go look at this article first. There are some resources on the JetBrains site and on the Kotlin Lang site, but this is like a very famous user of Kotlin and Kotlin multi-platform and all things Kotlin that explains like in detail like how to use Koog. Okay.
Okay. I think that's just about it. We have Simon online about to do his own talk now. Please, a round of applause for Pamela.
Thank you.